Okay, change the lighting. I'll turn on the other light. All right. Okay, here we go. All right. All right. So now we were talking. We had just talked about. Color. We made the color. We made the material. Right. Now we're dealing with getting the animal skin that are necessary for making the Mishkan. And we spoke about how it is, an animal that was not only almost extinct, it was almost extinct from the time it was made specifically by Hashem for this purpose, and afterwards, okay? It was from the time of the creation of the world till the Mishkan was built, and there were anymore. You don't make holes in this thing by shooting it with arrows. You have to shoot it with a net because there is just so much. You can't go out to Macy's and more fur. Okay, so making the nets. Here we go. Kosher, making permanent knots. On Shabbos, we are not permitted to make types of knots. Simple twists and non-permanent knots are, however, sometimes permitted, depending on just how complex this thing is and just how temporary. What's called temporary, what's called permanent. We'll get to it. What defines a knot as being a knot, not a twist, there's got to be a different word instead of knot. What defines a tie as being instead of a twist, okay? And what makes this knot a sense of permanence? And what exactly is a single knot versus a double knot is a lot of the things I have to start to deal with. Let's first define a twist, which is not considered a knot. A twist occurs when one end of a string, for example, you get a plastic bag, okay, store to pick up your tomatoes, okay, and you simply flip one of the handles under the other and pull. Undo this thing, you just stick your finger underneath and lift up. There's nothing that makes this thing together other than just a little bit of surface friction. That's a twist. That's not considered to be a knot. Okay, let me do this. Shoe for a minute. I'm sorry the shearer can't see, but let's just, as we say, noogies, right? Okay. So here's the shoe. Okay, so yeah, I'll take a look for a second. Okay, so this, where I go like this, and I just flip one end under the other, right? Even if I go tightly, this is not considered a knot. Why? Go underneath it with one finger and just go fling. It just comes right out. I don't have to untie it, so therefore it's not to be a knot. Okay. When a bow or bunny ears is then made further on top. Let's say, for example, let's get it down to this shoe again. Let me get the camera near my shoe. How do we do this? Let's position it. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so now, here's the shoe. This is a twist. That's nothing. Mm-hmm. It can stay there for 50 years. It's not considered a knot. The minute that I do the bunny ears, I'm going to do the child's method of how to do it in a different way. It's really the same thing. And I do the same action. I'm making another twist. But that twist is a twist on top of a twist. On top of a twist is a knot. Okay, even as a single knot, depending though on how permanent or non-permanent it's going to be. We'll now discuss it. It gets kind of complicated, okay? Can you tie your shoe knot on Shabbos? The answer is a single knot. Yes, a single knot, if and only if you are planning on untying that knot. Let's say, for example, that you're a teenager. Excuse me, I'm not supposed to say. You're a sweet teenager, okay? And gotta be politically correct. I hate that. You can't stand politically correct. So let's say you're a stupid teenager. Okay, the blood flow has not reached to your brain yet. Okay, you haven't hit the late 20s. You tied a bow knot on Shabbos morning, and now comes Abdullah. And of course you're lazy because you're cheap. And so you don't untie your shoe when you're going to sleep. You just kind of like kick your shoes off, fling them into the room. And if your mother doesn't come in and clean up, you're going to sit there until next Friday afternoon, when you have to put your Shabbos shoes on. And then you untie it to put it back on. Which means when you, as a teenager, tie that shoe on Shabbos morning, your intention is to stay there till next Friday morning. It's next Friday afternoon, you get it just for Shabbos. It's more than 24 hours. So even this simple knot, which normally permissible, this I'd be, that's a twist, and then I'm doing on top of it. Intending not to stay there for more than 24 hours, I can't do it. But if you're a normal adult, and you don't fling your shoes off and fling them over to the end room and expect that the maid's going to pick up after you, jerk. Okay, so you take your shoes off at the end and you put them neatly under your bed, or you put them somewhere and you put them away, right? Like you don't have to act like an animal. So when you put the shoes on Shabbos morning, what do you intend for them to be? You're going to untie it after Havdalah before you go to bed. No problem. What if I do this as a double knot? I have a problem. Because the difference is that the nature of a single, take a look at what happens. I do the twist, then I do the bunny ear or the other way, which is basically also. Now, come to this thing, even if I make it really hard, I'm trying here. I now come with two little fingers and I just pull. And then I put my finger underneath, it comes out. That's called a temporary type of knot. If I mean that temporary type of knot, it is a knot. It's a temporary type of knot. If I mean it to be temporary, then it is temporary. If I mean it to be permanent, it's permanent. So therefore, single, on your shoe is permitted for those who will untie their shoe most Shabbos. The double is a permanent type of knot. So let's take a look at what happens. It's a twist on a twist. Now you're getting serious, okay? So now, going like this, and I make the other down. And now I'm doing the next twist, which is called, now here comes the double knot. I do only one action. I pull one string. From one end, it won't come out. Oh, that's already showing it's something permanent. From the other end, it does. But then what happens? I'm still left with part of a knot. Now I have to sit here and fiddle a little bit until I'm able to get to the thing where my finger under. This is a multi-action untie. That's called a permanent type of knot. I'm not allowed to tie it or untie it. Okay, let's say that on Shabbos, the shoelaces on your Shabbos shoes break. So, fine, you'll take your weekday shoes. But you had a lazy teenage moment, okay, and your weekday shoes you didn't untie. So can you untie them to put them on? No way. Because when you had tied those shoes and when you flung your shoes off, let's say Friday morning, you didn't intend on untying them. You didn't think your shoelace was going to break your Shabbos shoes on Shabbos. So you did not think that you were going to put this shoe on Shabbos. Maybe you planned on that not there until Sunday morning, more than 20 minutes. And therefore, you're stuck. Okay, you can't. I hear the young Yael is thinking, okay, because he's younger than us, kind of like we're on the other side of the hill. She's saying, just get Velcro. so, what's the problem? All right, so, okay, shoes without laces are not a problem. And the Velcro thing, okay, is not called a knot, even if it was set up and been there for more than 24 hours and really sticking together. It's not a problem. It's not. You can open and close, nothing to talk about, no issues whatsoever. By the way, as a piece of advice, let's say it happens. Your Shabbos shoes lose their laces. Something happens, it breaks. All you have is your weekday shoe. All you have is a shoe that's already tied together. What are you going to do? You get a shoehorn and you fidget your foot into the thing and just pay attention to not untying on Shabbos. And that's it. Okay? Okay.
Do they still make those?
Wait a minute. What do you mean still? Because I have right over here. Okay. 1 second.
I haven't seen a shoehorn in about 35 years.
Use this every morning.
Huh?
You think I can bend down that far? I can't bend down that far. So, Yeah, okay, don't laugh at us. It's not nice to laugh at old people. So, all right. Now, 1 second. Tzitzis knots are what's called it's not just permanent, it's a professional knot. This is like macrame. It makes it even worse because even by the opinion that says that if it's not a professional knot, that's the Rambam, then it's not deraisa. Well, by everybody, tightening your tzitzis knot is, because you're not making the tightening it, I'm strengthening the knot. It's starting to come out, you got a problem. You cannot tighten it. Now, by the way, don't freak out. If the tzitzit knot starts coming out, your tzitzit are kosher. In fact, if most of the knots in your tzitzis come out and untwine, and like you see, it's fine. The only knot you need to be there, let me just show you this. Okay, here's the tzitzis. Okay, here's the clothing, the little circle, and here's this. This first knot is the only one you need. The rest of this is tradition. So if all of this comes out, now as far as the labeling and the strings getting cut, we'll talk about it, that's later. You do need this to exist. You don't need this to exist. So if this actually unties, and this unties, and this unties, and this unties, all you're left with is this double knot over here, you're okay? Okay? The strings start getting chopped off or chewed off, okay? It's a different issue, okay? Alright, fine. By the way, for Yehoshua and for Yael, you tell us Shmuel, I have a way of seeing your tzitzis forever untying, okay? I tried this about 4 years ago. It has never opened even slightly. There's a way. Get a cup of boiling water. If you have a microwave, stick a cup in, or just, tea kettle, put it in. Take this part and put it in the water for 5 seconds. Wool is hair, which is made a cup in a cup in a cup in a cup in a microscope. The cups become like rubbery. Once it's hot, you take it out of the water and you go like this. All of a sudden, instead of feeling like a strong string, it's going to feel like a rubber band. Pull it, let go. You submit a lock knot. It will never come out. Disintegrate before it will come out. Okay, so fine.
Good to know.
So fine. That's the practical thing. Okay. For women, head coverings called tichels are, yes, able to be tied even with semi-loose, doesn't have to be completely loose, a semi-loose double knot, if it will definitely be taken out that day. Don't sit there and tie a turban to make yourself look like the Ben Ish Chai, okay, and then, it took me a half hour to tie this turban off and put it on your mannequin, and then tomorrow take it back and put it on. Now forget that. But if you simply take your cloth, you tie it around, double knot, and it's basically one of these things where if you're holding the child, you just spat up and kind of try to undo your head cut, and you can do it with one hand because it's not completely tight, to loose like it's like ready to fall off. A semi-loose, which is the normal way that these things, unless you're really trying to make one of these, I call it the Ben Ish Chai turbans, okay? If it's that, those are tough things to do, and it's like a work of art. You have to spend like a half hour doing it. Those things are different on Shabbos. And frankly, they have these things that look just like it. You want to make them pre-made, get it. You don't have to tie anything. Slip it over your stick, have fun. But don't tie one of them on, okay? Nor untie one of them on Shabbos. All right. The reason that the tichel is allowed to double knot, it's not tied tight like a normal double knot, and therefore it's not considered a permanent type of knot. Whereas when I tie a double knot on my shoe, I'm tying it tight. It is by definition a permanent type of. Okay. All right. Yeah, you're going to do this stuff for Shmuel, or you want me to be able to go over it with him?
No, I'm taping. And
very good, very good. Okay, fine. Even a single knot, which is not even on top of a twist, such as that which is created at the end of a rope. Look at the picture here. Okay, just a single knot, okay, at the end is usher dira. What I'm talking about, for Shira, who doesn't see the picture, let's say you take a string, pretend you got a 6 string, or any string, okay? And let's say the end of the string is fraying, okay? And you don't want it to fray. Okay? So you want to stop this thing from fraying. So what do? You just go like this. You just, one single knot. You can do it with one finger, and you made a knot there. Okay? It's not going to get any worse. On Shabbos, that's Asar D'Oraisa. It's a single knot. I can even make it with one finger, with 2 fingers. Okay? Because it is absolutely meant to be permanent. Stay there. Okay? And it is the most difficult knots to come out. Okay? A knot at the end of a string. Very difficult to come out. Okay? Alright. Alright, let's go over a certain story that I think will make this thing, I'm trying to see why did I not write this story? Was I'm a jerk. Okay. Right down here. But I should. Maybe it's here. Oh yes, it's coming up. Okay, fine. Alright, so here we go. It's in the next halacha. Okay. Before moving on to this next halacha, let's discuss what's going on here. We're entering into a new zone in malachas here. Remember that there are a total of 39 malachas. There are a total of 10. Basically, 1/4 of the malachas are malachas, and they're juxtaposed or opposite malacha. What this is a malacha and its opposite are each a separate malacha, like tying and untying. The negative malacha in these cases is only if they serve a constructive. Remember back at the beginning of the book, on page 12, at the top of the page, over here, we see the guy who's breaking the wall, which is destruction, okay, to fix the plumbing. And then we got the kid who looks like my kid, got the hammer, and he's destroying the wall. Okay, so that's just completely destructive. This destruction is a constructive purpose of fixing something. This destruction is just destructive. So the one that has a constructive purpose is a thought-out, creative activity, because it is creative, because it has an end result of a positive, and it's therefore D'Oraisa. The other action, which has no positive result, it's just destructive, is prohibited, but only D'Oraisa. So now, let's take that back. We're going to take you for a little bit of a whirlwind here in something in the book, and then we're going to come back. Okay. There are things. I'm just going to take this. Turn the camera for a minute. Okay. Let's go through those 10 malachas that are malacha and their opposite. That each one that they are related to each other. And remember that the opposite is only a prohibition, but only if it is for a positive and not only negative purpose. So we have tying a knot or untying. That's untying is done for the purpose of fixing the garment or whatever it is. Or untying so that I'll be able to tie it, such as unshoe. So to retie it, get your foot in and then retie it. Okay? Sewing or ripping. Okay? I'm seam ripping so that I can get back and sew it in a much, happened wrong in the seam. I'm ripping it to redo it. Or I'm ripping something out because I need that piece, not part of a pad. I need it to be a single sheet. It's a constructive purpose. Then we have, skipping just for a minute, writing, which is on page 37. And at the bottom, for the purpose of rewriting on the same spot. Versus erasing simply because, I don't want it there. Alright? Then we have building, and just like we had on page 12, okay, destructing. Okay, but I'm destructing this thing. I'm taking down the Mishkan so I can build it somewhere else. I'm knocking down the cheap house that I bought because I want to build a mansion over here. And then there's kindling a fire and putting the fire out. because here I need to make the charcoal, which is going to make the ink. I need it at a certain point to have the black soot, okay? Extinguishing for some other reason, we'll have to talk about this one. This last set of two juxtaposed lighting and extinguishing, you'll see all the others were one on top of another. These are side by side. This does not fit the standard rule. This one is not only as an opposite malacha, it has rules on its own, completely unrelated to the lighting of the fire, or the kindling of the fire. So this one is done in a different position, not because they couldn't find a place to stick it on the page. Everything that's done is done for a reason. This guy was a brain scientist. Okay, all right. So now, let's get back to untying. All right. So. The rule to remember here, again, is that the act is being done for constructive purpose, even if the malacha itself seems to be the opposite. That, if done on Shabbos, is violating a malacha dioraisa. If the act is not creative or non-constructive, then the act will only be violating a dioraisa. Okay, fine. So now we just learned about tying knots, right? Now we're moving on to the malacha of matir, permanent type of knots. This is at the bottom of 32. Any knot that cannot be tied. You see this? Look at the guy with the yellow sign. Very important piece of the page. Right over here, this over here. Look at how this guy did this book. Because when you get this book, this will help you remember. In each malacha, there's a fence or wall, right? So the top malacha goes until this log. See this, Shmuel? The top malacha goes until the log. Next malacha underneath the log. But this sign is in between. We're also going to see other things where, like, a person will have one side of a river and another leg on the other side of the river. It means that it's relating to both of the malachos. The one act in a certain situation, it's like straddling. This act is both. So here, what does it say on this sign? It says, any knot which may not be tied on Shabbos may not be untied. It's showing us the relationship between tying and untying. Meaning that a knot that I could tie on Shabbos, I can untie on Shabbos. So now let's explain it like this. Let's say, Al is sitting there trying to have the kids stop driving everybody crazy and, jumping out the windows. And so one of the kids decides to have the Guinness Book of World Record, the worst tangle in the shoe anybody can ever see. It's going to take 3 people to untie this knot. But, she tied it as a simple thing. It's just the kid is such a genius, he made it the world lethal tangle. Tangle is a mistake. Mistake allowed on Shabbos? Yes. So can you untie a tangle that happened in the shoe by mistake? Yes. Even if it's complicated and takes you an hour and a half? Yes. No problem. But I cannot untie a double knot in 15 seconds. Why? Because that was done purposely. Remember, part of what makes something a malacha is a thought-out, constructive act. A tangle is not thought out, and it's not constructive. And therefore, since that knot, tangle, could be done, it's a mistake, it can be untied. No, you don't have to cut the leg off or cut the shoe off of the leg. You just untie it. It's complicated. Have fun. No problem. Okay? Alright, so now, okay, one second. You will see who don't know what they're talking about, who say you must cut through the knot, and that's how you're going to get the shoe off. Absolutely no reason whatsoever. Let's say that somebody by mistake tied a double knot, and the foot is swelling up, or whatever, okay? This happens a lot, by the way. Some older people who have, what are these things called? These therapeutic socks, which take 2 people to get on them. Okay, and then they also have these shoes, which are very pressure socks, okay? And pressure hose, or something like that, whatever it's called, right? And also have shoes which are laced very strangely to help the pooling of the blood not happen in older people who have heart problems. So, the general way of doing this, you generally make a double knot. So let's say the person made a double knot on Shabbos by mistake. Okay, so they didn't avail it. It was fake, but they did do the act. It's not that the tangle just happened on its own, like it does by a kid. It's not a brainless act. It's a mistake. So, all right, it's an avail, but it's a mistake. But are you allowed to? No, because it was an actual thought-out act. But my foot is turning blue. It's too much pressure. Cut the knot. Don't cut the foot. Cut the knot. Okay? Okay, you can get the shoe off. No problem. But, I mean, I won't have another lace. So you're not going outside? You stay home? Who says you have to get the shoe? It's only Durabanan to go to davening at Minyan. It's the rice to break a malacha. Okay? Okay, now, but by the way, you should know this one, because when taking care of older people, this is very common, these type of shoes, and a lot of times older people are somewhat forgetful, even those people who are following Shabbos, and they will have tied, and it happens a lot of times that they're sitting with poor circulation. The only way to do it is to cut the knot. Okay? It as a completely destructive act. And to do a completely destructive act would normally be Durabanan, but when we're dealing with the health of a person, there is no rabbinic prohibition when the person's health is compromised. When we're talking about something dangerous such as circulation. So therefore, it's completely permitted to cut through the knot. Okay? All right. All right. Time for it. Shira, you're so quiet. Are you there? Okay, fine. So here's the story. Okay, upon his becoming a new rabbi, a friend of mine got his first position in an extremely small Orthodox. Most of the members there were about 320 years old. They moved to college as they could hear anything. It was really a sad situation. Okay. Almost none of them had halachic knowledge. One Shabbos, my wife and I went to visit him. I think the three of us together were younger than any of the other members of the congregation. Okay. I was given the honor of rolling and untying the ancient Sefer Torah. It was Mincha, the afternoon service of Shabbos. This shul did not have the modern Velcro or clip elastic belts that you generally see people wrapping the Sefer Torah with. But like everything else in the shul, the belt was something from an antique shop. It was a very long, about 4-yard or 4-meter long belt. I had heard about this before. It's mentioned in the Shulchan Aruch that this type of long belt was used in the past to hold the Sefer Torah closed. It kind of like you mummified the Sefer Torah, you kind of like wrapped it around and around and around and around the top in. It was never meant to be used to tie a bow knot. Okay, that was not, it was called a wimple. Okay, and it was meant to go around, put the end in. There's no knot. There's not even a twist. There's nothing. Okay? The reason that these belts were traditionally never tied was because it would be tied on Mincha, on Shabbos. When's the next time you're going to untie it? Monday morning, more than 24 hours later. And therefore, as a tradition, when these things came into fashion, no such thing. They were never tied, not during the week, because when I opened the Sefer Torah Shabbos morning, it was tied Thursday morning, until Shabbos afternoon, Shabbos morning, from Thursday morning, 24 hours, and also from the end of Mincha on Shabbos till Monday morning. You got it? In other words, if you get used to tying the wimple in a simple bow knot, like you do with the shoe, you're intending it to stay for more than 24 hours, and you're not allowed to untie it. Okay, so now, all right. Yeah, wait a second. Shira has a question. Yes, Shira? Okay, the last two were kindling and right. In other words, tying, untying, sewing, tying and untying, sewing, and tearing, writing and erasing, building and demolishing, kindling a fire, extinguishing a fire. Sewing and tearing. It's almost the same thing. Almost the same thing as tying and untying, but it's a slightly different malacha. We'll get to it. It's coming up next. Okay. Okay. So anyway, so I get there mincha of Shabbos, and they tell me to tie it up, and so I remembered from the Shulchan Aruch, and I'm like, okay, I'm mummifying this thing. I know what to do, and somebody. One of the older members, must have been about 400, came over to me and said, no, Sonny, you don't do that. And he starts to take it out of my hand. He tries to tie it, take it out. He's like, no, we can't. And my friend, the rabbi, said, no, just leave it. I said, but it's us. Just leave it. I'll explain. Okay, I'm not doing anything here. So at the end of Shabbos, at the end of Mincha, I said, what are you talking about? It's absolutely prohibited. He said, if you think that people are going to listen to me, I'm younger than my grandchildren. He said, but they have no knowledge. They're not listening to me. And I'm quitting. I'm out of here. I can't stand the place. He said, but I've figured out a solution. He said, before Shabbos starts, I untie the knot that was made on Thursday, and then I retie it. Friday afternoon, right before Shabbos. So that when they untie it Shabbos morning, it's been less than 24 hours. And then Motzi Shabbos, after Havdalah, in Shul, the first thing I do before I lock the Shul, as I go back to the Sefer Torah, I tie it, and then retie it. So that what the guy tied at Mincha will not last for 24 hours. He says, I've taken care of it. Is it their intention? He said, they're lucky they remember to put their shoes on in the morning, right? By their age, he said, forget about it. He said, like, and they're not going to listen anyway, so, like, what are we going to do? He said, so, anyway, you basic idea here, right? All right, second. All right, now, the next malacha. Sorry, let's just deal with another thing here. The rolata, which, okay, I know all of my students who ever had any type of Christian background, when they see this thing, they say, Ham? What is Ham doing in a book on Shabbos, right? So, we've got this thing here, okay? It's the Jewish version, okay? It's got like a net, and then you boil it together, it looks like a ham. Okay, this is called rolata. Basic concept is you take scraps of meat when they're raw, you throw them into a net. You shove them all together with little pieces of fat and stuff like that. You tie the net closed, boil it. You now rip through the net and slice it, and you have, sliceable meat from scraps. Okay, it's called rolata. Yes, this is exactly how they make the ham. Okay, except that this is kosher. Now, can you cut through these knots? No problem. Absolutely not a problem. It's a completely destructive act. But you would say completely destructive is normally prohibited. That's if it's at all similar to the concept of demolishing or untying. It's called opening the package, in the same way as opening a nut or ripping the peel off of an orange. It's not a problem. Okay? It's allowed to be done to get to what's on the inside. Okay? So you can't cut through it. Okay. All right, that is pretty much it for that malacha. We are now moving on. Okay, remember, I think I did this like 2 weeks ago. The next two malachas that are coming up are out of logical order. Basically, we made the nets and had to repair the nets by untying. Then we skipped the page. Then we trapped the animal, killed the animal, skinned the animal, tanned the leather, smoothed the leather, and cut it. Then we get to these 2 pages here on 33, and then we sew the pelts. And we may need to do some seam ripping to fix it at certain points to re-sew it. Why are these 2 malachas here? Why aren't they at the end, like 3 pages later? Because the Talmud did 2 things by putting these things together. One, as a memory tool, tying and sewing are very similar. Untying and tearing are very similar. But not just as a memory tool. As the Talmud goes through this, you might think that the rules are the same. They're not. And therefore, only when you put two things that are very right next to each other and you discuss them together do you start to see the differences. Whereas if they're far apart, you go, oh yeah, that's like that. No, it's not. There are different rules. They're very similar. But in order to understand the slight difference, the Talmud put it here as a learning tool. So that you'll be able to do, even though it's out of order of the actual construction of the Mishkan, the Talmud forget it, it's fine. We need to look at the difference between these four malachas, and therefore they're put together. Okay? So don't confuse this to what is going on, where is this in the construction of the Mishkan? It's like 5 malachas later. Okay? But we're bringing it here for this reason. Okay, so now, here we go. This malacha, tofer, sewing, we're attaching two materials to one another. Is that what's going on by tying? It's the same string. Not attaching two materials. Sewing is attaching two materials. It is done for a number of purposes in the construction of the Mishkan. Sometimes nets were actually sewed because you'd say, well, there's actually, I need to make a big, huge net. All right, fine, happen. Other materials, such as leathers or fur, were sewn. Other times, pieces of material needed to be hammered together, glued together. All these things go into them. This malacha is in no way limited to the use of a needle and it's a common method of attaching two materials. Any other method, gluing, stapling, taping, are part of sewing. This means that putting a sticker on something would be a transgression, d'oraisa, of sewing. But let's go back. How do we define sewing with a needle? Let's take the basic concept of sewing at all. Anytime that you penetrate a material and then go back through the same piece, in and then back out through the same. Let's say the top piece is black and the bottom piece is white. So my needle goes through the black, down through the white, and then back up through the white and into the black. That. But if I just go through the black, nothing happens. Which is why a woman is allowed to use a brooch, but she's not allowed to put it on the way that they might do during the week. Let's say your wife owns an expensive diamond brooch. Okay, this is not a cheap 5 shekel thing. Okay, so normally they put it into the lapel, okay, and then back out, and then they have this screw to do it. Oh, sorry, that goes in and back out, the same side of the material, and you attach the brooch to the shirt. That is a problem. Rather, how would you put the brooch on? First of all, if it's an expensive brooch, do it that way before Shabbos. And then when she's all sweaty because it's a B'nai Brak Shabbos and hell knows nothing compared to the temperature of B'nai Brak in August, okay? So you take the shirt off because it's dripping in sweat. Put it on the counter with the brooch. You'll deal with it after Shabbos, okay? But if it's a cheapo brooch and you don't really care if it gets lost, stick it through the material once, and on the inside of the shirt you put the little screw thing in, and that's it. It's gone through the material once. No problem. In and out, coming back up the same, that's when you have a problem. Alright. Imagine that your top button fell off. This happens a lot with girls who need to, halachically, be more careful that the top button doesn't open up and then we see the clavicle bone. Okay? Let's say that's of your blood. You can't sew a new button on it. That's obvious. Okay? That's clear to anybody. It's a d'oraisa. So you'd like to use a pin, a baby pin, whatever you want to call it. Okay? There are both permissible and prohibited methods of using the safety. is into both sides of the shirt. I have the left side and the right side of the shirt. And it's not then put back through either of those sides a second time, then it's not considered sewing. The reason is that when the safety pin is closed, the materials move back and forth along the length of the safety pin. These materials are not attached to each other. The only way to do this successfully is, and women, the top buttons do come off, and you've got a sneeze problem, and it happens on Shabbos, okay? You should go to the sewing store and have in your sewing kit a little bag of 5-10 of these mini little safety pins. They're like half a centimeter long, little things.
No.
Those, you just take the two parts of the shirt, you put them together, you put the pin through once, and then you close it. You don't go in and out. You just once through, close it. Okay? And then, the material's moving back and forth, but it's only moving back and forth this much. And so you... Okay, wait. I should hear because it was muffled because I had my shirt up. I'm going to have to explain this to her again. So guys, just hold on, okay? Okay, basically like this. What's going on is, let's say the top button falls off. It's a stiff problem, right? Because you got the two clavicle bone protrusions that have to be covered. So you have to close it up with a safety pin. If you have a large safety pin, the way to do this is to go in and out, through the two pieces of material and then back. That's a problem, because that's sewing. But if through each piece of material with the needle part only once, and I don't go back, so the material is going to be moving back and forth 2 inches on this long safety. And I didn't really accomplish anything. My shirt is left open. So the way to do this is you go to the 5-dime store and you pick up, a little bag of 5 of the mini safety pins. They're like half an inch long, okay? And you put the needle part through the left and right side of the shirt where the button is missing once through each piece of material. And then you just close the safety pin. Now the 2 pieces of material are not actually attached to each other. They're moving back and forth on the rod of the safety pin. The only thing is the rod is very short, so they're not moving forth much, which enables your shirt to stay closed without you sewing. Okay? So now, let's say you never inserted either a pin or a needle. Let's say that everything was pre-sewn before Shabbos, but on Shabbos you notice that one of your buttons becomes loose. We see this in the book on page 33 at the top, the man in the brown suit. Okay? What goes on is very common, very, very common, that your button is, and you decide to tighten the existing stitching by pulling one end of the string. You're not going in, pulling the string, which brings the button closer to the material and it's going to stay together. That is sewing, dear Rice. But I didn't go in and out at all. Yeah, but you tightened the existing materials and you now made the 2 materials actually smooth. In English, that's adjacent. Okay? And that is sewing. Cannot do it. Okay? What you can do, okay, is, let's say you have this scenario. You see your buttons becoming loose, and you've got the one string that's hanging down a few centimeters. Take that one end of the string. Don't pull it. Just go round the button.
That's what I was going to ask, is if that was okay.
Fine. It's not tying anything. Nothing's becoming any closer. Really stopping the thing from getting worse.
Okay.
That's it. Okay? And you're not going to lose your button. On Shabbos, you could even use the button, but nothing is tied. Nothing is getting closer. You're fine. Okay? All right. All right. Remember, all gluing and stuff is. So let's say I have my bag of potatoes. Let's pretend you're in America. In Israel they have dinky bags of potato chips. But in America, we sit down and you eat potato chips by the pound, okay, or the ton. Okay, so you get these bags that are the size of my children, all right, and so they have a what they call a reseal line. So let's say you eat potato only on, Friday night or whatever. You're not opening the bag until next week. Or you're not planning on eating it until it's a Tuesday night when you have some company come over. Okay? So when you reseal it on this glue, you've got a problem. Okay? Because it's a glue surface, it's actually holding it together. It can be a problem. Which is why the best method of dealing with this is just a clothespin. Just using a pressure thing to kind of hold it together. It's fine. There's no actual glue being used. There's external material that is being used to it. Now, a Ziploc is not.
Okay.
Why? A Ziploc is the same thing as a bun. It's the same material itself, just be pushed into it. It's not a problem. Okay? Same thing with the Velcro. It's the material itself. It is the shoe. Versus the glue is a material that's put on there. It's different than the Velcro. Now, I understand it seems very similar to the Velcro. I have the same argument you do, okay? But for some reason, it is deemed different. The glue, Velcro is considered part of the material. Why? You're thinking, I find this particular logic a little hard to swallow. In fact, you know what, John? Do me a favor. Send me that question on an email. I'm going to bother the Beis Din about it. And I'd like to get a much clearer answer, and I'll have the answer for you next week. Okay? What is the question being? What is the difference between Velcro or a sticky glue on a potato chip bag? Okay, I'd like to find out because it's not clear to me. I know this is a distinction, but I'm unhappy. Okay. Well, I'm talking about like the glue is permanent. You know what I'm talking about with the potato chips thing. The potato chips thing open and close. The open and close is the same Velcro. What's the difference? Okay, so we'll find out. Stay tuned. We'll find out next week. Okay, she'll call you right back because the time the phone call interrupted in the middle. So I'll call you in 5 seconds. She didn't hang up fast enough. Lady. You didn't hang up fast enough. You are getting old. Anyway, I had to call back. Okay, here we go. Alright, the next one, we're done with this malacha. We're now dealing with tearing, which is the opposite. Korea, tearing, which means ripping apart either a single material.
Rabbi.
Yeah, 1 second. Just pause the question. Yeah.
Do you know that thing that we would use to mark the page of the book? That thing that have some glue.
Yeah. Okay. Those are somewhat problematic. They're not going to be removed within 24 hours.
The bookmarks?
Those bookmarks. That's why we use a simple piece of paper. Okay, you're planning on using it within the next 24 hours? No problem. Okay, but using them, taking them off, even for example, let's say I have notes on the back of my door, and I put them up and I say, Ari, Mommy and Daddy went with the baby to the playground. Come down and meet us. You write the note and you use it again and again and again. It's at the back of your door. Ari, meet you with Grandma. Ari, stay here. We'll be back in a few minutes. So you have a few possibilities. If you are planning on putting it there and taking it off and putting it back, put it back, it's not planning on staying there for 24 hours, then sticking it there is no problem. If you're keeping it there for 24 hours, you got a problem. Okay? So, all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question. And about that magnetic that we place in the Mekarer, in the freezer.
Oh, okay. Excellent question. Okay. Shmuel asked about magnets. Okay. It's funny you asked this. In the so-called the 39 malachas of Shabbos, which is Rabbi Riviette, who is the biggest Shabbos scholars and one of the biggest Torah scholars around, I must start by saying the man has many thousands of piskei halacha, many thousands of halachic issues that are brought up. Out of the many thousands that he brought up, there were 6 or 7 that I had some questions with, that I brought to the Beis Din, and they said, he's wrong. Okay? So out of thousands, and he was always stringent. But let's just here, except for one where he was too lenient, sorry. He says that a magnet is a problem. I brought this to the Beis Din, and started to laugh. I said, well, why are you laughing? They said, are you allowed to pick your plate up off the table on Shabbos? The force of gravity of the plate is heavier than the force that holds that little magnet to the door. I said, are you allowed to walk on Shabbos? And you're lifting your foot up off the floor, to the gravity that holds you onto the ground. So they said, we never see in halacha that not a material that is sticky or those, where do we see a force of nature being considered zoning? We don't. And so therefore, there's not a problem. Yes, you can use magnets. Okay? Even though Rivian says no, the Beis Din says, basically, in nice terms, blow it out. Okay? Okay, so... I'd like to see their opinion. Could find it, quote it for me, and send it. Take the picture of it and send it to my email. Because I can tell you, even if you're not planning on taking the hair off to use it, okay, taking hair off of the animal to use it would be d'oraisa. Taking the hair off to not use it. When you comb your hair, you're planning on making a sweat hair. No, you're still not allowed to comb your own hair because you know that the hairs are going to come out. So I would like to see their opinions and what they're basing themselves on. It sounds strange to me. Okay, so, take a look at it. The thing is that the dog is considered muksa. Absolutely mentioned in the halacha, dog is muksa, you can't move it. Petting it when your hairs are going to come out, it doesn't matter whether you're going to use the hairs or not use the hairs. I don't know, I'd like to see what they're basing themselves on, so if you could send that to me, that'd be great. Okay? Okay, thank you. Alright, fine. Alright, so now, korea, tearing, ripping apart either a single material or two materials from each other for a useful purpose. Korea, tearing means that you're not allowed to rip apart items previously purposefully attached together, nor can you take a single item and rip it in a way that will help it become more useful. So, for example, it's prohibited to rip out sheets, nor can you rip out the picture from a page of a magazine. Besides, there's the fact that you're going to have writing and you're going to end up erasing by ripping through the letters. Okay, pages of book that were stuck together from the beginning of their production cannot be separated. Now, printing usually do this. The printing that Joshua and Shira and I remember, the pages were folded and then they would saw the end of the book, and you would end up having, sometimes there would be pages that were still stuck together because the pages had never been, the saw missed it, okay? Modern printing is usually each individual single sheet. And it's very uncommon to find in a book, unless they're using some printing press, very uncommon to find a concept where the pages are still one piece of paper and you're taking the letter to slice in between the pages. You simply, I haven't seen it in years, okay? That would be a prohibition problem, okay? It's also a problem, for example, let's say to open up a letter on Shabbos. Let's say the letter arrived before Shabbos, and I want to now open it. I didn't have a chance. It arrived Friday afternoon from Aunt Sally. I'll open it on Shabbos. I'm going to tear through a nice clear line to, with the letter opener to, open up the envelope, and then the envelope's a storage area. We're going to put the letter back in. Very different than ripping open a bag of something you need to get to what's on the inside in a destructive manner. Okay? You're doing it and cutting along a thing, and that's actually a slightly different malacha called cutting. We'll get to that soon. Okay. But if pages of books, such as a bencher, one of those grace after meal things, are stuck together from a morsel of food from the week before, slob, okay, then the pages could be separated. This is not a creative activity. The pieces of paper were already considered separate and are not considered to be one item. And when they were glued together, it was done non-purposely, okay, and you're simply separating them. But when separating such pages, you should be extremely careful to not rip and erase either letters or designs on the pages that might be right next to or under the dry encrusted morsel of food. Okay. All right. Malacha.
Now, Rabbi, do they make Shabbos toilet paper, or should somebody just use like tissues? Or, okay.
Toilet paper is, we're going to deal with that on page 36 at the bottom. That goes on, okay? It seems very similar to what we just learned about heart, okay? It really does. So, suffice to say, no, you're not allowed to rip your toilet paper, nor are you able to take the bags off of a roll or the paper towels off of a paper towel, and none of this stuff can be done, okay? There is a method of getting to it if you prepare toilet paper or you're stuck in a certain area where there is none. You can rip it in a strange way, not on the lines, okay? And the reason there is because you're doing it in a strange way. We'll get to it when we get to that halacha, okay, which puts it into a category. And the rabbis made no prohibition on a specific issue called kavod labriut, which is of living beings. Specifically and only feces or urine is on your flesh, and you need to remove it for your own honor. Okay? Here, the rabbi said, a d'oraisa prohibition would be problematic. I can't rip the toilet paper along the lines. But to do it in a strange way, where I'm not ripping across the line, it's done in a different way. Go back to page, what is it? Page 11, I think. Yes, page 11. Okay, where you're doing it in a strange way. The guy is taking the apple on the bottom of the here, right? If that's not the normal way of doing it, then that is only rabbinically prohibited. The rabbis did not prohibit in a situation specifically of not mud, not other things, no, not allowed to. Let's say I want to take a paper towel off the roll and I don't have any cut. I got some mud on me. And I rip it not along the lines? No. Only feces and urine. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, we use the Kleenex too, but anyway, that's what you'll see. Okay, we'll get to that later. She's correct. Okay, all right. So now let's get to trapping. Trapping is very interesting. Trapping is page 34 at the top. You're restricting the movement of an undomesticated living creature for its use. That would be d'oraisa. Once we have the nets, we need to trap the animals in order to use their skins for making the animal skin coverings of the Mishkan. There's one basic rule of thumb used to determine whether either trapping or the next malacha of slaughtering is d'oraisa or d'rabbanan. If either of these malachas were performed in order to use the animal or any part of its body, then the malacha is d'oraisa. If, however, either the trapping or slaughtering was done for another reason, let's say to protect your little parakeet so he doesn't run away, then it would only be Durabana. Okay? Trapping fish in a net in order to eat them is Asa D'Oraisa, while trapping mice to rid you of pests is only Asa D'Rabbanan. You're not planning on making a mink coat out of the mouse pelts, I hope. Okay? What about trapping a bee or some other pest? Are you allowed to do this on Shabbos? With fly, most people understand that it's still Asa D'Rabbanan. They understand that the fly is not generally a threat, but rather just an inconvenience. Trapping or killing it would therefore be viewed as an unnecessary activity. What about the bee? What would you do? They asked this in the Beis Din. What would you do if a bee entered your dining room on Shabbos? And then they say, right when you're starting to think, they try to make things worse. Say, what if there were a person at the table, your 2-year-old, that has horrible allergy to bee bites? Last time they were bitten by a bee, they ended up in a oxygen tent. Well, no, it's not an oxygen tent. It's adrenaline tent. Okay? The Beis Din explained to me that it's not so clear at all that you'd be able to either kill or trap the bee on Shabbos. If opening the window did not work immediately, then instead of trying to trap the bee or killing it, the next step would be to remove the person who's in danger. But that's I can't Shabbos meal. You said Shabbos has to be convenient. The child out of danger. Move, but they're not everybody. So you leave the table, a child in the kitchen. But I mean, grandma and grandpa, it's inconvenient, tough. Who says you're allowed to or trap, even D'Rabbanan, simply because of inconvenience? We never made this thing, oh, well, the rabbis did their prohibition when it's inconvenient. Oh, yes, they did. They didn't make it in situations of danger. But dangerous only because you're staying there. You move. Okay, so, if there was a person, one second, but there are bugs here in Israel, unlike bees, that aren't looking for an exit from your home and will not necessarily ever leave. Okay, by the way, with the bee, if you leave the window open, within about an hour, it'll be out. Okay, it's not going to stay there like, oh my gosh, what's going to be with my child tomorrow? This bee will... No, just leave the room, leave the window open. It could take an hour. The bee would see hanging against the walls and everything. Out or it will die. Okay, it's from the moment it's in your house, it's trying to get out. But there are bugs behind somewhere until they come out and want to bite you. Smell blood. They want you. Scorpions, giant yellow desert. What do you call them? Centipedes. I've had about 10 of them in my home. Okay. Yes, they can kill somebody. Okay. They can hospitalize even a big fat person, and they can kill a child. By the way, if you don't know what this is, Shmuel, get on your internet, because they're all over Jerusalem. You need to know what this thing looks like, because Chas v'Shalom can kill a child. Okay? If you see this, okay, look at this thing up. Don't worry about it, Josh. Okay, but the 2 people here in Israel, look this thing up. Okay, just look up giant yellow centipede. You could put giant desertpede or yellow desert centipede. What happens to the giant version? Okay, it is a cousin of the scorpion. It has the same poison as the Morph scorpion. Okay, they move extremely fast. They go after people. Okay, you do not miss these things. If you see one,
it's ugly looking.
You're never told about them. They are one ugly creature has ever. I'm just saying. Yes, I've got it. Horrible. Okay, they're about 15 centimeters long.
Wow.
I won on my child on intensive care for a week, a few blocks away from us. It got onto the child's neck and bit the jug. These are horrible. Yes, you can. No question. Okay, no question. Okay, the recluse spider, kill it. Nothing. Okay. Nothing. Okay, walk out. It could hide behind the couch. Immediately. That was set for Shabbos. The twofold question, one is and one to an animal. Let's deal with Shabbos first. We'll get to the next issues later. As far as the laws of Shabbos are concerned, this would not, although you could obviously not reset a sprung trap on Shabbos. Okay? As far as groups for my little kids in the house, old strap, way that your kid's gonna fingers, okay? I'm gonna put his finger that he wants to get the mouse and the cheese faster than the mouse, and perfectly if used properly. If you wake morning and you go into your kitchen and you see Mickey sitting there, feet bunched together, and his feet down into the glue, he's trying to get out, and you pick up the trap and you throw it into the garbage. He's dead 3 days later, dying of starvation and thirst. Prohibited. Absolutely prohibited. Not allow cause unnecessary to animal. I'm not saying be a vegetarian or safe or put your pandas. I know, you don't have to be liberal about this. I hate liberal. Okay, so, okay, I'll admit it. Okay, so, I'm a liberal. Okay. I'm not allowed to cause unnecessary pain to an animal. If an animal is dangerous to you, you need its skin. Kill it in a... I am one of my child's fingers. Instead of... I'm dead in 2 seconds. So, there's a reason here. There's a reasonable method. But when I in the morning, and jump, she smash it in a second. Or hold water for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But I just can't. Well, it's sitting there for 3 days, thirst. That's what I did. Shabbos. You set this for Shabbos because of your child's fingers, and for all of Shabbos. A necessary reason. Okay? But as soon as it's over, before it's over, you've got for an unnecessary reason now. Shabbos is over. Kill it first, then do Havdalah. But I can't do Malach. Yes, you can. You said, Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol. You said that this is over. That's it. Kill the thing immediately. Then do Havdalah. You're not allowed to eat until Havdalah. But you're allowed to do Malacha once Shabbos is over. The whole time Shabbos is going on is a necessary reason. I put this thing out so the kids' fingers won't hurt, and it's the only thing I got. And I can't kill it for Shabbos. You're fine. Shabbos is over. Right there. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I heard if mosquitoes that the boring, you can open the window and use it not directly in the mosquito. And if the result to die is but you using they spray direct the mosquitoes. This is true.
If you could write for me in writing and send it to me on the email, I'd be happy to see it. This spraying mosquitoes or bugs, whatever, right? If it's not one of these things that is dangerous. I mean, if you're in an area where you have the malaria mosquito, kill it. Okay, I don't malaria mosquito. Different mosquito. It's a doubt, even like 1 in 100, because it's a doubt of life and death situation. Okay, but there are no malaria mosquitoes now. I mean, they found a few mosquitoes in the Hula Valley in northern Israel about 10 years ago. The state. I mean, the state that was, they found a few. That was it. Evacuation of the area. The entire thing was covered in in poisons. I mean, they don't go around here with malaria. Okay, I can't tell you how many millions of dollars were spent because they found like 2 or 3 mosquitoes. Like, they're correct. Okay. So now, okay.
Rabbi.
Yeah, what's it?
I had a question. The spraying insects would being a durabanum. What about if like some people here that has bug zappers to keep.
If the bug zapper was set up.
Okay.
If I have fly paper set up before Shabbos, it's not a problem. Okay. Okay. Feeding a caged pet must be done in such a way when the caged animal will not ever, not even for a moment, be able to. If it would be to escape, then when you replace the food and shut the cage door, trapped an animal that was more free. If you look in the book, we have this situation of, the trapping the bird in the house here. It can still fly around. Yeah, but when you close the door, you're somewhat restricting its movement, okay? That's called trapping, okay? All right, your animal does not manufacture to start animals. Rather, some object, let's say a badly trained parakeet, okay? And the bird needs food or water. Or it's coming up to a theater near you on a shabbos, 3-day Yom Tov, okay? I need to get more food and water in there. So I open the cage, hand right there. As I open, I slip this. So the door without my hand being there. Then I slip a hand underneath that hand and get it in the cage, get the food thing out like this. This way, the opening opened. Somebody gets food and water, or I just shut the door, come back, and I slip the food in. Okay. If your animal is like mine, which is well trained, I open the door, the thing crawls in the cage, stands on top, it crawls back in, and that's it. Okay, and if I have it, and it's in the cage, it jumps back in on its own. You can open the door and shut the door. It's absolutely no problem. Same thing with dog. Your dog had to come home, no problem. But why do you not see any religious Jews who live in situations who have dogs? They're much easier. But why do you see few dogs in people's homes in cities that are religious? You see, when you're out in the farm, it's running around, or you're a fenced-in yard, no problem. The dog, you're out, gets out of your water is, it'll kind of after a few come back in, that's it, no problem. Being out in the city, if the road's out, he's either going to get run over or never going to find his way home. Because he's a new dog, right? It's a puppy. Hasn't been trained yet. So now when I leave, you've got to you shut it fast. Or somebody else, you throw the bone to the other end of the house, you open the door and you shut it. Just trapped the dog. Before that the door was opened, he was free. Can't do it. This is one of the practical problems. Now what people do with this is, let's say somebody really wants. So first of all, they spend extra money and buy not a puppy, buy a trained dog. Go to the kennel and get a dog that is already house trained. And the cost a penny, okay. And end of the week thing. I'll say by the end of the week, please, it doesn't want to go anywhere. It's not a stupid puppy, okay. And this can solve that problem, okay. Again, farmer out in a place where you got a fenced-in yard, you don't have them, okay. It's a problem. Cats are much less of a problem. Kitty live where the bowl is 2-3 days later. This animal has absolutely no go anywhere else. Had to come back home. It's more intelligent. Dogs are stupid. That's why they're man's best friend. Okay, so all right. Life and death has to do with people. I have no obligation to save the life of an animal. I asked about this thing about life of an animal. I cannot do it. If the animal itself, I'm opening the door. I'm not allowed to do it to protect it. I have no obligation to protect the animal. And to protect a person is without an act of killing or taking. In fact, remember what's a malach. We have to think during the week. Yes. If your dog falls in a donkey on Shabbos, it depends on how you. Okay, she's saying if your donkey's in a obligation to get it out. It depends what you need to do to get it out. Let's say if there's no, right? So you can't carry anything to bring it there. Let's say that you have to lift it. It's muksa. Okay? If something can be placed there and you're within an eruv to help the thing crawl out, fine. It's just you have to help it if you can. But you have to always have in mind their malachas. Sit there and take priority and out other malachas. I think that I'll give you this example. We have the yeah, but I also have 39 malachas of Shabbos. I'm not going to cancel the malachas to take care of an animal. I can't go out and start beating the dog up. But if the dog causes itself a problem, and the only way for me to help that animal is to Shabbos, I can't. For example, let's say I have a sick cat, it's dying, it's old, it needs to shove its throat. So mix the food of the cat. Say it needs to be fresh. Mix it in and stick it in a bag in the refrigerator and have it ready so that when the animal goes to eat, they'll get it. But for you to pick the animal, which is muksa, and stick that pill down its throat, it's a problem. Okay? Yes, you can medicate your animal on Shabbos in the food that you prepare. Okay? Alright, so second. Seconds. Okay. Let's go back to the animals. There are certain things that can be done. I had a parrot, extremely stupid animal. And they said it was, oh my gosh, this parrot, I think Shmuel, you saw the parrot, right? We saw it.
Ken.
So not the parakeet, the parrot. So the parrot was very uncomfortable if it was in its cage. It would come out and go back in, come out and go back in. But to have the door closed all Shabbos is making all types of motions to come out. So the Rav said, I'm allowed door. And then, on its own, I can the door. Problem is that sometimes stirred, because its wings were clipped, sometimes would jump onto the floor. Now, on the floor in a house with eight, it's going to become a pancake, okay? Coach that. And therefore, we had to make sure that we can get this thing somehow back in the cage. Or we're not going to let it out. It's going to, even though it will be in pain, be emotionally disturbed that it stays, and I'm not going to pick the thing up. One second. Okay. What is it? 1 second. What is this? Oh, okay, thank you. This is about it. So basically what we needed to do, I was allowed near the animal. It could on its own, it always did. In the cage, my hand in the cage. I could not put it in, because then I'm trapping it. But if it into the cage on its own, I could shut the door. Because it's proving that it wants to go back in. Okay, we're going to actually have to end a little early today. I'm sorry. Okay, let's end it right there. Okay, we're on page 67. Okay, please send me that question about the Velcro.
They got it sent to you.
Great, thank you. We're still on page 34.
Okay.
Okay, yourselves. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Welcome.